Welcome everybody to a look at a new release from the Warner Brothers Archive collection, and it is Action Jackson. So this is from 1988, directed by Craig R. Baxley, who also, not only was this his directorial debut, but also did the film I Come in Peace, also known as Dark Angel, as well as Stone Cold. So yeah, he had followed up this action film with other action films, although I Come in Peace does have a sci-fi element to it, and yeah, this clocks in at 96 minutes long. Had a budget between $8 and $10 million, and went on into the box office in the USA alone to make 20.3 million. So decidedly a success. And yeah, it stars Carl Weathers, who unfortunately recently died earlier this year, but he was in the likes of Predator, Force 10 from Navarone, and Toy Story 4. Also stars Craig T. Nelson, who was in the first two Poltergeist films, as well as The Incredibles 1 and 2. Also stars Vanity, who was in 52 Pickup alongside Roy Schneider. Sharon Stone, who was in a bunch of classics from the 90s, Casino, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, and The Quick and the Dead. And it also has a whole host of supporting cast members from notable 80s films. So you got Thomas F. Wilson from the Back to the Future trilogy. You got Robert Davi, who was in Lights of Die Hard and License to Kill. Bill Duke, who was in Predator alongside Carl Weathers. And Mary Ellen Trainor, who was the newscast reader in Die Hard. And she was also the psychiatrist in the Lethal Weapon series. So, vengeance drives a tough Detroit cop to stay on the trail of a power hungry auto magnate who's systematically eliminating his competition. So, although this action film doesn't do anything new or special, it does nonetheless make for an entertaining, albeit derivative effort. I also like the cast, which is a who's who of an assortment of notable 80s actors. The action scenes are mostly great, it is well paced, the score soundtrack is good, it is predominantly engrossing, the production is solid, and even some of the humour worked, which is, more than you can ask for in some films. But yeah, even though it's not as great a say as, your classics from the 80s, like Die Hard or the first Rambo film, it's still by no means as lowly as, your canon efforts, for instance, with Chuck Norris, which I've never been particularly fond of. Um, can't struggling to remember any of them, which kind of says it, to be honest, in that regard. So yeah, they're not. It's nowhere near as low as that, but it's not as high as your classics either. It's at a good middle ground. So, but that's not to say it's not memorable, because it is, especially thanks to the cast and the action scenes. But it is at the end of the day not quite gonna reach the heights of other classic films from that period. But that doesn't at least mean that you got a good, entertaining film that isn't going to be too challenging either. And as per usual, no extras in terms of physical aspects with this release, as per usual with other Warner Brothers releases. Although weirdly, it doesn't have the archive collection bit at the top that we've seen numerous times before. I'm a bit surprised by that. Maybe the poster just didn't give them room to do so. But there's also no extras on the disc itself, unfortunately. So that is a little bit of a shame. It's a bit annoying when you get the double whammy of no extras physically, which is, you know, the usual for these releases. But then also no extras on the disc as well. So yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. It does make the price of £15 a little bit pricey for just a Blu-ray, but it is at least a film that wasn't available on Blu-ray before, especially in the UK. And yeah, being a favourite of mine from the 80s, even if it's not a great film, does mean it's well worth getting into my collection. So yeah, I do highly recommend it, to be honest. But if you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.